Hello and welcome to Spin Me a Tale Friday. My name is Miss Missy with Lone Star College, Sci-Fair, and Harris County Public Library. And we have an exciting tale for you. And our story is Why the Oyster Has the Pearl by Jeanette Downing and illustrated by Beth Ann Hill. In the beginning, the oyster was the keeper of all the jewels in the world. The oyster was generous and kind. He would display the jewels for any creature who wanted to see them and would give jewels to any creature who needed them. Of all the snakes in the world, there was one who was greedy. As he watched many creatures visit the oyster, the snake was scheming. "Oh, dear oyster," he said, "I've seen all of the creatures in the great water. They sparkle with the colors of the jewels you have given them. My eyesight is poor. Would you give me 2 emeralds for my eyes to help me see?" "Sure," said the oyster. "Choose the ones you need and leave the rest." The snake picked the 2 largest emeralds he could find and placed them on his eyes, and he swam away. The following day the snake returned to the oyster. "Oh, gracious oyster, the emeralds you gave me for my eyes are green like the sea. Everything I look upon is green. I can't tell one thing from another. May I have 4 amethysts to help reflect the sun's rays and help me see better?" "Sure," said the oyster. "Choose the ones you need and leave the rest." The snake took the 4 brightest amethysts that he could find and placed them over the emeralds in his eyes and swam away. The following day the snake returned to the oyster. "Oh, gentle oyster, my tongue is forked and drab. Nothing tastes good on my tongue. Perhaps you can spare a ruby or 2 or 10 to make my tongue a deep, delicious red." "Sure," said the oyster. "Choose the ones you need and leave the rest." The snake slurped up every ruby in sight with his long tongue and swam away. The following day the snake returned to the oyster. "Oh, loyal oyster, my body is dull. Would you give me some golden rings to make it shimmer?" "Sure," said the oyster. "Choose the ones you need and leave the rest." The snake grabbed as many golden rings as his body could carry and swam away. The following day the snake returned to the oyster. "Oh, noble oyster, the golden rings you gave me are heavy and slide off my body when I swim. Some sapphires would be useful to keep the golden rings in place. May I have 200 or 300 sapphires?" "Sure," said the oyster. "Choose the ones you need and leave the rest." The snake took every last sapphire he could find, as well as a few other jewels, and slid them between the golden rings and swam away. Finally, as the sun gave way to the moon, the snake returned to the oyster. "Oh, dear, gracious, gentle, loyal, noble, and courageous oyster, the water is so dark when the sun sleeps. I have no sunlight to reflect light on my eyes. I am lost and I cannot find my way home in the dark. What could you give me to help me go home?" The oyster looked at his jewels. He only had 2 jewels left, and the snake had not taken. "I am sorry to say that I only have 2 jewels in my keeping. Choose the one that you need and leave the rest." The snake looked at the 2 jewels. There was a large sparkling diamond and a small pearl. The snake quickly stuffed the large diamond into his mouth, and then he snatched the pearl too and crammed it into his mouth. "Ha ha 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 ha, you foolish oyster! I have swindled you out of all of your jewels, and now you have nothing." The snake laughed and laughed so hard that the diamond became wedged in his jaw, and the pearl became lodged in his throat, and he coughed and he gagged, and then he began choking. "Help! Help me, friend oyster!" gasped the snake. The oyster put the snake's neck between his 2 shells and pushed with all of his might. The pearl popped out of the snake's throat and landed inside the oyster's shell. The snake could breathe again, but the diamond was wedged in his jaw. forever. And that is why, even to this day, the snakes, who are not to be trusted, have a diamond-shaped head, and why the oyster has the pearl. The end. Thank you for joining us for Spin Me a Tale Friday. Join us next week for a new, exciting tale.